Here, we have another request from Chaos Cateriano 7 on what if Kale was born in Universe 7 and Broly in Universe 6, but mainly just the former. Though some would expect it to simply have them fulfill each other's roles, it's not quite that simple, as Kin Vegeta gets a different idea when informed of Kale's battle power at birth. A boy boasting such power would be a threat to his dynasty, whereas a girl could serve to strengthen it. He designates Kale as the only super elite outside of his family, and arranges for her to be Vegeta's mate when they come of age, in an attempt to create a grandchild that can defeat Freeza and bring the Saiyan warrior race to new heights. With her being assigned to Vegeta's squad in the meantime, her personality causes Frieza's soldiers to not see it as worth scanning her when reporting to their bases, but her battle power already becomes immeasurable for scouters by the time she has her growth spurt into adulthood. Vegeta, on the other hand, is very aware of his betrothed strength, and has her spar with him after completing missions ahead of schedule, quickly becoming aware of the near-death Saiyan power, and making use of it. Vegeta's injuries and drastic increase in strength is something far less overlooked by Freeza, with him deciding it's time for him to personally wipe out the Saiyans when on a mission. He initially attempts destroying the planet from space, but is shocked to see Kale easily bounce his supernova back at him with a casual ki blast. He transforms and descends to the planet to end things personally, but even the limits of his power is nothing compared to Kale, who, after Freeza remarks on being right to have exterminated the rest of her species, that included her father Paragus, has her get serious enough to turn the tyrant into atoms. After quickly dealing with Cold's attempt at revenge, the Saiyans gain complete control over the Cold family's business, but with Kale's insistence having them change their business model to be more of a well-intentioned government, with enough care for subordinates and citizens that Ginyu forgoes any thoughts he had on avenging Frieza with a body change. With this, the Saiyan Empire is formed. It's at this point age 757. After having her and Vegeta's daughter, Echalot, Kale eventually consults her squad on if there may be any other Saiyan survivors, to which Vegeta and Raditz mention their younger brothers, with Kale giving Raditz the task of bringing Kakaroto to meet them, while she and Vegeta track down Tarbell. The Tarbell mission goes easily. Raditz is given one of the larger ships capable of getting to Earth quicker than an attack ball, and his explanation on what has happened makes Goku far more open to going with him and learning more about his Saiyan blood, quickly becoming excited about how strong the likes of Kin Vegeta IV, and especially Queen Kale, are, as he trains to utilize his Saiyan power to its limits. Piccolo is forced to give up on his goal of surpassing Goku, when seeing how strong Goku has become by the time he returns to Earth, becoming directionless. Goku is also given a scouter by Raditz, with which to contact the Empire if any problems come up, or if he simply wishes to spar with him, though he fulfills the latter whenever he wants by having his attack ball modified into a greater spaceship, as normally. Goku does so for a few years until succumbing to the heart virus, and the Saiyans come to Earth 3 years later when Buruma reports of an unparalleled destructive foe. Kale quickly deals with 17 and 18, who are not yet as accustomed to killing as to be beyond reason, and are open to the opportunity of letting their angst out against criminals as independent agents working with the Saiyan Empire and Galactic Patrol, with this path allowing them to bring out more of their full potential. 17 quickly foils Babidi's ambitions 7 years later, and vows to protect the Earth as the Dragon Team he wiped out once did. As for Vegeta, feeling useless when relying on his wife's strength, his rage turns into inwards as he becomes the first Super Saiyan of his generation. Beerus wakes up 4 years later, but the lack of Dragon Balls on Earth for guidance and them having never come up in conversation with the Earthlings for the Saiyans to think of going to Namek means the Super Saiyan God isn't unearthed, with Beerus instead noting Kale and Echalot's incredible power, and seeks to bring it out through attacking Vegeta. Though Vegeta has become far stronger since Frieza's death, his lack of variety in Shugyo has caused him to be no stronger than after first exiting the Room of Spirit and Time, with Beerus quickly bringing him to the brink of death, and inciting Kale's rage so much that she transforms into the legendary Super Saiyan to provide more fun to Beerus than any other mortal in Universe 7, before he eventually decides to use enough power to defeat her. Whis tutors Kale to control her transformed state, with Beerus allowing Vegeta to train alongside her, his efforts eventually allowing him to attain the God forms, even if at a far slower rate than normal, whereas Kale masters the legendary Super Saiyan form. Though not as naturally strong as her mother, Echalot proves a strong and wise enough ruler to govern the Empire during her parents' absence. Not taking interest in Earth, there's no conversation with Champa to incite a tournament between the universes, and Champa simply gathering the Super Dragon Balls to wish for an endless supply of delicious foods. This also means Zamasu never makes the move to enact the Zero Mortal plan, and gradually comes to heed Goas's advice. The Tournament of Power doesn't occur, but with the route the Saiyans walk down, it may be possible for their mortal rating to enter safety before it's too late. Speaking of which, this all means Broly in Universe 6 unfortunately does nothing more significant than maybe moving beyond just friends with Caulifla. As for Granola, with a more benevolent Saiyan rule, Monaito tells him the truth about Bardock, with Granola eventually using the Dragon Balls to unleash his full potential to overthrow the Heaters. Hedor still creates the Gammas, who destroy 17 and 18, but the lack of threat beyond there means it doesn't take Hedor long to figure out Magenta's goal and disposes of him, with there being no Cell Max without Cell having been unleashed first. Speaking of which though, Cell would eventually be unleashed, and due to the changes to Earth, his DNA features that of Goku, Piccolo, Kale, and Dabra. This still isn't enough to overpower the Gammas, but he does manage to spit on Gamma 1 and breaks him before fleeing with the Taiyoken. Without Frieza's cells to survive in space though, and Dabra's ability to being too debatable for Cell to instinctively know either way, Cell would eventually be found by Gamma 2 before he can progress with his plans further, and is dealt with. Thus, Universe 7 comes to an era of peace, with Gamma 2 protecting Earth, the Saiyan Empire governing the universe wisely, and Vegeta eventually becoming an acceptable successor to Beerus. It's in this scenario that we see the importance of a Saiyan with some similarities to Goku's nature, and the positives this would provide to the universe in his absence. Thank you for having watched through this What If. As always, post any requests for one, or Dragon Ball analysis you'd like to see me cover in the comments, and subscribe so you don't miss them. On the subject of Super's multiverse, you may be interested in this video going over the problems of its execution.